Today, we are going to explore smart, strategic real estate moves to help you build a better financial future. Today's episode is for the dreamers, the travelers, and investors looking to expand their portfolio beyond the U.S. We're diving into international real estate investing, a topic that's become more popular with the rise of remote work, global travel, and emerging markets. Here to give us a guided tour on international real estate investing is none other than Donna Middlebrooks, a global investor, developer, and consultant who has helped clients buy and rent and invest in properties in various countries. Let's get into the episode. Donna, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Stella, for the invitation. I'm excited to be here.
Let's start with the why.
Okay. The why.
The why. Why do people look for real estate investment opportunities outside of the U.S.?
You know, interestingly enough, I got my first phone call from a longtime client saying, hey, we just got back from Greece and we think we want to go and start, we want to live over there. I said, you want to live where? And she said, Greece. And I said, okay, well, let's go figure that out. And so I think why can start with going on a vacation.
Yes.
And thinking I want to have a vacation home here. I may want to retire here. And if it's the vacation component, then it is also looking at, can I do some short-term rentals with that? Can this be a legacy property for my children and my family? So there's numerous reasons. It can be financial, it can be personal, and so much more, professional as well.
Mm-hmm. Donna, I experienced the same thing on my last vacation to Panama.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the country and I immediately started to, investigate. How do I buy land here? Is this a good retirement opportunity perhaps?
I recall that vacation because you called me when you returned home and was like, Donna, I think we want to move to Panama. And fortunately, I have gone to Panama several times. I love Panama. I have some colleagues and friends that are already in Panama and so have learned a lot about Panama. And oh my gosh, they have a huge expatriate community. And my husband's a veteran. And so there's a huge veteran community in Panama. So a perfect place to start.
And what are some other popular countries that you would recommend for expatriates or for U.S. residents just looking for a second home, a retirement home, or rental, investment?
Yeah, I think it's important to first and foremost go to a country that you know and love or have fallen in love with. So you certainly want to go there and you want to experience the country, you want to experience the culture, you want to experience, and I mean longer than a 3-day, 5-day, 7-day vacation. Like go for a couple of weeks and explore that area. Countries that come to mind that I have clients that have invested in and that we have projects in, the Dominican Republic is very friendly. Panama, as we were just saying, is friendly. Costa Rica is friendly. Colombia. And if you really want to go across the waters, you can look at Thailand. We've done some work in Ghana, so certainly on the continent of Africa.
In your experience, what countries make it the easiest for U.S. citizens to become, second citizens?
Yes, so it depends. It's a good way. I'm glad you asked it that way, second citizen, because some countries will allow you to come in and get that second passport, right? The Dominican is one of those countries. They do want you to learn Spanish. So they want you to be fluent in their native tongue. But they offer some advantages. And depending on your heritage, it might be easier to go back to a country where your family heritage is from. And it's easier to own because some countries do not allow you to own land. So it really depends. But it's what's most important is once you decide on a country, is connecting with the locals. So understanding the local culture, making sure that you connect with a local realtor, and who can walk you through the process. And I always advise my clients, not only do you want a local realtor, but you want to connect in with a realtor like myself, someone who has our CIPS, which is a certification in international properties.
Yes.
And that means we can help assist you connecting with the person that is over in the other country and be able to help monitor it from this side.
And I can imagine the process probably varies from country to country. But what are the similarities? What should we expect?
I can tell you that similarities abroad is cash is king.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. We are one of the only countries in the world that do these 15, 30-year mortgages. Yes. If you've ever noticed when you travel, like say Jamaica, You go and you may go to Montego Bay every year, and the same houses in the same state, right?
Yes.
It is because they build by cash. So oftentimes when you go to these islands, they build one room at a time, and they build the kitchen, and they build the family room space, and they build additions on because it's by cash. So I think that's the biggest awakening for most of us. And then so if I don't have cash, then how am I financing this?
Exactly.
Right?
Well, exactly. And with my recent research into Panama, I am finding that at least Panama is looking into the finance and mortgage type situations for, people
Absolutely.
that are interested. But you're right. Most countries, it's about
It's cash.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they are, there's opportunities. I mean, when I'm sharing with some of my investor clients here, first, certainly cash, right?
Yes.
But then if we're looking at financing, if there is some local ties to the country, you can potentially use a local bank. Most of the time, they want you to have some kind of connection, whether it's family connection and or you have done business in that country where they can see that you have accounts and you've had some exposure that they can track. There are international banks that actually lend to people throughout the world. And so there's certainly those that you can look at. Other ways that I share with my clients is looking at your own portfolio. So if you've got existing homes here in the States, it may be a HELOC and pulling out some of that cash equity in your home, because we all know using your equity for good assets is a good thing, right? Don't go get a HELOC and pay off all the credit cards and put bad debt on your asset. But certainly if you're looking to purchase another asset or looking at your investment portfolio, so your 401ks and different things like that, and ways to be able to manipulate your cash.
Okay, great. So let's say I'm a customer and I'm interested in using you to having you provide services for me to buy some real estate outside of the country, outside of the United States. Which country would you recommend?
Okay. So probably I probably have favoritism towards the Dominican Republic because that's where I'm investing in right now. So I'm probably going to start there as we have a project.
Tell us, what does that look like, the project?
So a group of college friends and I decided that we needed to own some land outside of the States. We travel so much, and what would that look like? So we had a local contact, a local friend and longtime friend actually, that owned throughout the Caribbean and kept telling us about this place in the DR. And so we get over to the Dominican and we fell in love in this particular area that is very much like a Martha's Vineyard or a Hilton Head to us, right? And we fell in love. And so we started the process of how do we own the land? And it is a slow, tedious process abroad. We literally had to go through, so you want to hire an attorney, a local attorney.
Definitely.
So we got a local attorney because they got to figure out who owns the land, who titles the land. And those processes are still very manual abroad. There is no computer and MLS system that just pulls up the tax records. And so understanding who owns the land, being able to actually parcel the land together so that we could have enough to be able to build our project, that took some time. Being able to negotiate with whoever the landowner or landowners are, take some time to negotiate. One of my colleagues said, this is like watching paint dry. Because we're so used to going into systems here in the States and being able to pull things up automatically. In 30 days, we're titled out and we now have our new, property, land, whatever the case
We're
may be.
upset when a new construction takes 6 months to build.
As opposed to the 4 that you told me. So that, I would say, certainly pack your patience when you start going down this international journey, because not only are you doing something outside of your norm, right, and you're learning the process, most likely there could be a language barrier that you're dealing with, an interpretation of the contracts becomes up because they want it in their native cultural language. And so now you got to translate back to English to make sure you understand what you're signing. I advise my clients to have not only an attorney in that local country, but also have your personal attorney. So when it's translated, you can also make sure that you understand the documents that you're signing.
Fantastic. So I digressed. We digressed quite a bit.
That's okay.
I caused you to do that. So back to being your customer.
Yes.
And I call you and you say, oh, yes, the Dominican Republic. And that's what we're interested in. So take me through that process. Now we've found some land and then you build. Do you work with builders there?
Yes, we do. And so it depends. So it's one or two, right? You can do ground up construction, or you can go into an existing project. There's a lot of new construction throughout many of these islands, right, that's already there, or it might have been an abandoned project that somebody just gave up on. And so identifying that is on those trips that you go over, it's connecting with the local real estate community, and identifying where you want to be at, right, what's comfortable for you. And then from there, it is the attorney pretty much handles the entire process for you, right? So that attorney comes in, they're going to find out about titling of the land. They're going to walk through, you've got to make. So one thing I like people to know as well, there's no, ooh, it's 3% down, 5% down when you're talking international, right? So internationally, normally they're looking at least a quarter, so 25%, if not half, before they even start drawing up paperwork for you to be able to then purchase that land. Or it's 100% depending on what country you're in. So they want you to come to the table fully being able to walk through this process, and we're going to seal the deal.
So we've discussed owning the property in another country. So would you advise managing a rental property from the U.S. in another country?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Self-management outside of this country is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
I highly recommend you use one of the short-term rental systems that we have out there. So we know those ones and those portals. They have a system. Not only do they have a system that allows you to be able to receive rentals, receive, your short-term guest or even a long-term guest, but they also have insurances that will protect you, right? So at least there you don't have to worry about if your property is damaged. There's nominal property management fees. It just kind of depends on the country that you're in, but they're not the same as here. So I would say they're nominal, but they're full service. So they can either find you your guests through one of those portals or local portals that they have. They will, do all the registration for you, make sure the intake of that guest comes in. They will do all of the property management from a cleaning service for you. If it's a single family residence, they'll make sure you have your gardeners. And depending on those that travel, I know when we travel, if we rent a home, we want the chef, we want the driver, we want everything that comes with this particular home. And so it's hard to do that and maintain those relationships from here. So you absolutely want a team on site in the country that you're in.
Very important to know.
Yes.
Very important to
absolutely.
know. It's a totally different experience.
It's a totally different experience, and you can't see, feel, and touch it when you're here. Unless you plan on being on a plane every month to go over there and check on it, depending on where that country is, that could be a heck of a hike and expense. And now you're cutting into your ROI, right? If you think you got to look at it every month.
What are some of the tax implications with,
So as an American, we got to pay tax.
Exactly.
No matter where you own it, you have to pay taxes, right? But there are some countries that are tax friendly, like again, going back to the Dominican Republic, they offer what is called a confiture that can give you, if you get it, if you receive the confiture, then it'll allow you a tax break for that country, which allows you a tax break, of course, back here. But we must pay the tax, collector.
The tax.
And so I advise that you have a really strong accountant, but not just an accountant that is a bookkeeper, but an accountant that not only knows your investment strategy, domestically and internationally. So I think I was sharing with you about the Panama trip. My accountant is Panamanian. And so he is amazing from the perspective of not only does he know what it's like to be out of country, at least in his country, but he has a different perspective. And oh, by the way, he worked for the IRS for 13 years.
Well, there you go.
So we love him.
And I may need his information, his contacts. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so you've been doing this for quite a while. How many years? Investing
Internationally? Oh gosh, probably over 20 years when we started with our first project in Ghana.
Wow, I love it. Ghana, I love that. That is on my bucket list.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Definitely. Beautiful, right?
Ghana should be on everybody's list. Every African American needs to land on the motherland, and you need to start with Ghana. 44 of the 66 slave castles that our generational legacy came through is in Ghana.
Wow.
You want to go to Ghana.
Yeah, it's definitely on my
yeah. And they speak English. So it's an easy, in to go in and be able to have conversations, but just to understand the culture and the history of our people.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It is definitely on my bucket list. Fantastic. So now share with our audience your favorite or best or most memorable experience as an international real estate investor.
It would probably be Ghana. It would be Ghana. When I first started 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, it was a church project.
Oh.
And we were partnering with a church in Ghana, right outside of Accra, which is the capital, to build a church, a school, and a medical facility. And through that project, we realized we needed housing. And so having to build housing, it was my first foray into international. And I'm so thankful for my church home that allowed me that opportunity to get involved, understanding the differences, being funded from America to Africa and taking the trips over there and understanding the dynamic. And I think what's most important is being respectful, right? Don't go over there as American thinking, oh, I know this, I got this, and you all do not know. Be respectful of the country that you go to and understand the way that they do it. May not be an American way, but it's the way it's done, you know?
I love it.
So you may be able to add value, but please, please, please be mindful of the way that works in their country.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Great advice. So speaking of advice, what advice would you give to someone who's never invested in real estate before and they just want to go all in and start investing, not here in the U.S., but just internationally? What would be your best advice?
I would not advise.
Besides, don't do it. But, people get excited,
Yes.
And so, you're giving this amazing advice. You're talking about you got to go to Ghana, and they go and they're like, oh, I've got to invest. I want something there,
Yeah.
I would say live there. That would be my advice. But anyway, I'll let you expand on that.
I would say, if nothing else, purchase land.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe land bank in an area. I wouldn't dive straight into building straight out the gate. I think, and if nothing else, I mean, most other countries allow for, rentals. I mean, go in, and I tell people when they move to Atlanta, you're not familiar with the area. Atlanta's a huge metro area. Do you really want to come and just buy, or do you rent for a short time and kind of learn the dynamics of that area? Because you might think you want to live on the west side, but the east side is better for you. And so I think the same for my investor clients when they're thinking international. I absolutely want you to have not just gone once, but a couple of times to make sure this is a country you certainly see yourself in for a long term. And even if it's a short term investment, 5 years to, what's the political climate of that country, the economical climate of that country? Are they friendly to expats coming in? Are they friendly to foreigners coming in? Do they allow you to purchase the land? Because some don't. Depending on the country, you have to be 60. You have to be a 40% owner, and someone local has to be a 60% owner. So it depends on the country if you can even own, or can you own, or do you just own vertically up, meaning the building, and you still don't own the land, you're just leasing the land. So there's a lot of things you need to understand. So it's important that you not only speak with a realtor that understands the difference and understands, so they can explain the differences between America and there, but also understanding, what you can and cannot do is from a legal perspective, right?
Right, exactly. Wow, this is all such great information. We've touched on a few countries. Now, the one thing that I have heard when I've traveled to some of these countries is, well, they're driving up the prices of our, properties now, and I have one of my best friends is Ghanaian, and she is kind of saying along the same things. Yeah, it's kind of, driving up the home prices and land prices in some areas. I know Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, you hear that. How much have the home prices, I don't know, changed the last few years with more people traveling and discovering, international,
Yes. I think globally they're going up probably somewhere between 12-15%. Not significant. I think the difference is the fact that we come over with cash.
Yeah.
Right. And we build exactly what we want, and we have these American expectations. And so we build something larger than what might have been in that community, or something that just stands out. Right. So I don't think it's a negative significance. For most of the countries that I've gone to or had people go to, they're very welcoming. And most of the time it's an expat or expatriate community. So when we go, we're in a little America, You know, there's a little America here, there's a little Japan here, there's a little Russia over here, there's a little China. And so oftentimes we're not necessarily blended in the heart of a native community. We've built our own community outside of it. And so therein lies some differences. The taxing structure is so different abroad that I can't say that we're driving up their actual expense because they bill by cash anyway.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Absolutely. Okay, well, this has been so good. Thank you. Thank you for all this information. You've got to come back,
Absolutely.
so we can talk a little bit more
We'll dive deeper
and
into
learn
some of
more,
the specific.
dive way deeper.
Yeah.
Way deeper. So is there any last advice you'd like to give? How do we reach you if we want to build or find a local property manager
Yes.
for our rentals in another country?
Yeah. I would say don't fear the process, right? Don't fear the process. If that is a dream, definitely dive in. Do your research. We got YouTube University out here. So there's somebody like yourself doing an amazing podcast, bringing guests on to speak to you about these projects and opportunities to go in other countries. So certainly do your research. Do your research. Reach out like my clients did. They reached out to me and said, hey, we're aging. We're in a different place right now, and we trust you. So how do we figure out how to invest abroad? Like I said, there's certifications that we have that allow us to. That network is what really exposed me because I can now reach agents in these countries. And you want to vet just like you do here. You want to vet that person, let them know what you're trying to do, and make sure they're able to be responsive to you and be a part of your team, that they're educated on the process. And the last part of your question was, how do they reach me? So it's Donna Middlebrooks. They can reach me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and call me directly.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And I know how to reach you.
You know how to reach me. You can reach me through Stella.
There you go. Thank you so much, Donna. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for watching today's show. And remember to follow our show on this channel by subscribing below. And leave a comment to let me know your best takeaways from today's episode. Please also share this episode with a friend. I love building a community that's always learning, always growing, and always your universe for all things real estate. Until next time, I'm Stella Harris, and I'll see you soon.